in an attempt to make people believe that he actually cares about them. In fact, it's showing that he is getting so desperate until he's making proposals that innately goes against the Republican agenda. Tyrone Bowman live. I found an opinion that was recorded by MSNBC, and it's titled 7 Trump Campaign Proposals That Show He's Getting Desperate. Looking to close the most important sale of his career, Trump is getting desperate. So let's get right down to the essence of this opinion from MSNBC, and it was written by Ryan Teague Beckwith with the MSNBC opinion. He's the MSNBC opinion columnist. So according to MSNBC, there's nothing sadder than an aging salesman trying to close one last deal. Think of Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman, desperately trying to get that desk job in New York City. Shelley Levine in Glengarry Glen Ross, pleading with his boss for the good leads or poor old Gil. From The Simpsons, anytime he's on screen, you can now add to that list Donald Trump, who's lately reaching new peaks of sweaty salesmanship on the campaign trail as he seeks to turn around a race that he appears to believe he could lose. Trump's campaign has reached the "but wait, there's more" phase of the infomercial, as he has recently tossed off promises to abolish taxes on tips, overtime pay, and Social Security, make make in vitro fertilization free to patients, cap credit card interest rates, cut car insurance rates, and restore the state and local tax deduction, in addition to the campaign agenda he already outlined. But there's one problem with his proposals. This past week, the Republican-led Congress overrode anything for IVF. So there's a major contradiction there already. But let's get back to the opinion. But if this is the sham wow campaign, these pledges are more than sham than wow. When normal campaigns roll out a big campaign promise, they give white papers to reporters ahead of time, and a new bit to the stump speech, roll out a new section on the website, send out press releases, and post about it on social media. But Trump's campaign pledges have come off the cuff at rallies, in interviews, and on Truth Social, seemingly in response to some recent event or news item. You know why? Because he'll say and do anything. That's why. The man doesn't like to read, but he loves to tweet, though. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Those little fat fingers of his can't stop tweeting, night and day, day and night. And he will say and do anything to make people believe that he should be president again. And do what? Cause another insurrection if you don't win? Because that's what you did. Believe it or not. As a result, there's very little chance that Trump would actually try to enact any of these proposals, assuming that he'd even have the ability to do so, since they tend to cut against Republican orthodoxy, would cost at least $3.2 trillion in total, and in some cases wouldn't even have much political benefit for his party. That is a stipulated fact. We've already seen how the Republicans operate. They're obstructionists. It's the do-nothing Congress. Everything in the Senate usually is at stalemate. Investigation after investigation after investigation after investigation. And then Trump had a nerve to get upset because the judge in the Hunter Biden case has deferred his sentencing until sometime in December. Well, what is he upset about when he's trying to get all his cases thrown out? What hypocrisy. See, he speaks with a double tongue. He wants everything that he thinks he's entitled to, but he doesn't want anyone else to have any of the benefits that he has. And that's a stipulated fact, whether folk want to believe it or not. It's true. All he cares about is one person, himself. Look at the makeup of his organization. Nothing but family. How do you run a corporation and you don't want nobody in there but your family? Seriously, back to this opinion. Some of the ideas have been proposed in the past by Democrats, although typically with some acknowledgement of the trade-offs and guardrails to limit negative side effects. Trump's proposals have none of these details, unlike a series of movies similarly aimed at voters' pocketbooks that President Joe Biden rolled out when he was seeking re-election. Isn't it ironic? Everything that he condemned Biden for, he's doing. That's what hypocrites do. That's what liars do. They stick to the liar's script. And guess what? Smart, consciously awaking, thinking people, they're not buying it. And they're not going to buy it. All right, let's look at proposal number 1. He says he would end taxes on tips. He knows that's a lie. Trump called for ending taxes on tips at a rally in Las Vegas in June, which makes sense because Nevada is a potential swing state with a lot of service workers who live on tips. Vice President Kamala Harris followed suit in August with a more detailed plan that may be refined even further. The Center for Responsibility federal budget estimated that Trump's plan would cost $250 billion over the next decade, while Harris's might cost $100 to $200 billion. Advocates say it's hard for the IRS to collect taxes on tips anyway, but critics worry it would encourage more businesses to switch to a tipping model. So, what is the likelihood? Decent? The idea has quickly gained bipartisan steam, although the details of the final plan will be key to its success. Trump says he would end taxes on Social Security. The Republicans are trying to abolish Social Security. Hard-earned money that people worked for, set aside for the retirement years, they want to take it away from them. Because in their opinion, you're living too long. Well, what about all these aging politicians? They want every perk, every benefit, every entitlement, every bribe that they take, they want it all. They don't want to give anything back, but they want the everyday constituent to suffer at their hands. Trump floated the idea of ending taxes on Social Security benefits in an all-caps message on Truth Social in July. In a Fox and Friends interview, yeah, they're his friends, and his friends only. Democrats suggested the idea first, though their proposals are more detailed and are part of border reforms that would pay for the change by hiking the payroll tax on the wealthy. The Committee for Responsible Federal Budget estimated that Trump's proposal, which so far does not include any offsets to pay for it, would cost $1.6 to $1.8 trillion over the next decade. So what is the likelihood? Low, unless Democrats win both chambers of Congress at some point and decide to pursue it. See, Trump is trying to steal other people's agendas because he has none of his own. And y'all keep buying that big lie. That's the reason why we have to mobilize, organize, and strategize and get the vote out on election day. We can't allow people to intimidate us or to stop us or to tell us that we don't have the right to vote. We're going to vote. And black people, we're coming out by the millions upon millions upon millions. Whether folk like it or not, we're going to the polls, just like they did for Barack Obama twice. Remember that. The black man won twice. with all the opposition, with all the hate, with all the bigotry, with all of the pandering to their base, Biden still won. Pardon me, Obama still won. Him and Biden won twice. So he proposed to end taxes on overtime. Now you know that's an outright lie. The more money you make on overtime, the more they take. Trump pitched, see, notice it's a pitch. It's a sales pitch. That's all it is. It's a pitch, nothing more. Trump's pitched exempting overtime pay from taxes at a rally in Tucson, Arizona. Earlier this month, it's unclear whether he meant just income tax or also payroll taxes, which fund Medicare and Social Security, or if there would be any guardrails to prevent, say, high-priced lawyers from reclassifying themselves as hourly workers so they can get a huge tax break. Were Trump to follow through, and he'd need Congress to do it, the Conservative Tax Foundation estimates a cost somewhere between $227 billion and $1.1 trillion over the next decade. So what is the likelihood? Very low. There doesn't seem to be much enthusiasm for this idea on Capitol Hill because it's not plausible. There's no plausibility factor here. Republicans are not going to go for it. The wealthy definitely are not going to go for it. Wealthy folk, the majority of them are greedy, especially in corporate America. That's why everybody's a part-time employee, part-time, with no benefits. That's why people have hourly wages, because they don't want to pay salaries. With salaries, you have to have benefits, a benefits package. That's how they make their money. And sometimes it's a Ponzi scheme. Yes, 3-card Molly, the shell game. He said he would restore the SALT deduction. Trump called for restoring the state and local tax deduction, also known as SALT. In a Truth Social post earlier this week before a rally on Long Island, the deduction, which allowed people in high tax states like New York and California to deduct the cost on their federal income taxes, was capped at $10,000 in Trump's 27 tax reform law. Lifting the cap would mostly benefit wealthier residents of blue states, so it would be a heavy lift to get Republicans to agree to it. The Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer of New York has supported it. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget has projected that eliminating the cap would cost $1.2 trillion over 10 years. Now, let's look at something here. Well, how's the likelihood? Very low, first of all. It's unclear why Republicans in Congress would rush to bail out wealthy residents of mostly blue states from a cap they created under Trump. They're not going to do it. Anything that can hurt anybody else, listen, check this out. Do you know that most wealthy people give away a lot of money because they can claim it on their taxes as charitable deductions? Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. That's why they give money away. That's why they set up nonprofit organizations. When politicians leave office, they all set up nonprofit organizations. They wrote the laws. They know how they're governed. And they know that they can get rich from having a nonprofit, or richer from having a nonprofit organization. Nonprofit doesn't mean that you're supposed to live in poverty. Nonprofit doesn't mean that you're not supposed to get a salary. Here's another proposal. Cap credit card interest rates. Are you serious? He's going to cap the credit card interest rates. Are you serious? You know that's an outright lie. At a rally in New York this week, Trump called for a temporary cap of around 10% on credit card interest rates. Again, the former president did not offer any details because you have no details. That's why. There are none. That's why he can't offer any. He has no details. He didn't offer any details or who would be eligible or how long the cap would last. Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alejandro Ocasio-Cortez first proposed a cap of 15% in 2019, while Republican Senator Josh Hawley proposed a cap of 18% in 2023. Advocates argue a cap could help consumers with payments on the nation's $1.14 trillion in credit card debt, but most critics point out that banks might respond by restricting cards to people with high credit scores. See how that goes? And most people are living off of their credit cards anyway. You think credit card companies are going to cap off interest rates? No, they're not. They're greedy. They're not going to cap off anything. And the likelihood that this was passed is very low. Republicans aren't going to be eager to go along with price controls, and banks will mount a concerted effort to block it. Bankers are greedy. They are. They're greedy people. Well, actually, they're greedy with other people's money because it's not their money. They think it's their money, but it's not their money. Make IVF free for patients. In an interview with NBC News in August, Trump said that he'd have either the federal government or insurance companies pay the full cost of in vitro fertilization. You know he's a liar. It's another idea that's pitched that's going nowhere. He floated the proposal for which he offered no other details as Republicans have taken heat for an Alabama Supreme Court decision earlier this year that briefly halted IVF services in the state. Still, Senate Republicans have twice blocked the Democratic bill to provide a nationwide right to IVF. They did it a few days ago. So Trump would have to convince his own party to put anything in place. NBC estimated that a single year of IVF treatments would cost $7.8 billion. So what is the likelihood that that would pass? Extremely low. Republicans are not going to embrace an insurance mandate or federal spending for a procedure that's unpopular with anti-abortion advocates. That is a stipulated fact. Trump said on a post on X earlier this week that he would cut car insurance rates in half. He offered no details on how this would work, as car insurance rates are regulated by state insurance commissioners based on actuarial data and exceptions for the future, or expectations for the future. Insurance industry experts say there's very little Trump could actually do as president to cut insurance rates, and he knows it. Other than maybe working to make roads safer or limiting compensation in crash-related lawsuits, and that would make only a marginal difference. Insurance companies don't like to pay anybody anyway. The life insurance, car insurance, health insurance, whenever you file a claim, they want to find a way to deny it. This is what these bureaucratic, corporate, greedy people do. And they make hundreds of millions of dollars as CEOs. And the likelihood is nearly impossible. Trump has no authority to set rates. Republicans will balk at price controls, and insurance companies will push back hard. These proposals all sound great at first, but they would either blow a hole in the federal deficit or would require more government controls, things Republicans ostensibly oppose. It's extremely unlikely that he would be able to pass them if he's elected alongside a GOP-controlled Congress, the most likely scenario for a Trump win. Some of these ideas might be worth exploring in the future as part of a more serious-minded discussion of the issues, but that would require an attention to detail that Trump has never shown in any of his 3 campaigns for president or his 4 years in office as president. But when a salesman starts telling you all the extra things you'll get when you sign on the dotted line, you have to wonder what you're actually buying. And might I add, when you go to these motivational seminars and you got these great motivational speakers and they're telling you that everybody can become a millionaire and you can get rich from real estate, just follow this, get my book, get my DVD, and blah blah blah, yada yada yada. They're scammers. They're con artists. And the reason why these people write all these books and have all these things, because that's how they make their money. Beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. Never surrender. Never quit.